Welcome to Basement Movie Room. We're here with our thoughts on Rings of Power, the new series for the Lord of the Rings from Amazon. It is late. It's past 11 o'clock our time. We got a little late start on the first two episodes. So, we just finished watching. Overall, but initial thoughts are, yeah, it's good. I mean, I like it so far.
Yeah, very interested in what's to come.
Yeah.
Took a bit to get there.
It started off strong, in my opinion. The first episode starts off very strong, and then I think the second episode takes a little bit of a nosedive because it's a slower, more plotting episode than the first one is. But so,
you would have thought it would have been vice versa.
Yeah, you would think it would have been the other way around. There'd be more introduction in the first episode. There'd be a lot more to do in the first episode, but it just didn't end up going that way. Yeah. So, in any case, it was enjoyable, and I'll do the best I can to go through what went on in these two episodes, and we can kind of talk about it as I go through it. But it's a lot. It really is. This reminds me of the opening episode of Game of Thrones, where, although the difference here is that we're seeing some characters we know, although really it's only two characters that we really know. Everybody else is like familiar of their races and things like that, but it's two characters we actually know, and we get a young Galadriel at the opening scene. And she's very young. I mean, I'd say 10, 12 years old, maybe. Human years, at least.
Yeah.
Elf years, she's like 7,000 or something. Yeah. Who knows?
Right.
But, she's playing, and some of the other elf kids are mean to her and sink the little ship she makes. It's a pretty fancy thing. It floats. It's very cool. The very cool scene to open it up. And then her brother comes along as she's kind of like fighting with these other elf children, and stops her and rescues her ship from the water, although it's dead, with his little dagger, which the dagger is becoming a thing in the series so far, much like
it's kind of a thing. All these type of genre series. Yeah. So keep going.
So her brother takes her, and they're in this beautiful place. It's Valinor. They're in Valinor. This is where they lived when they were young, and there were no threats to them and whatnot. Her brother, who I didn't say this while we were watching, but reminds me of David Bowie from The Man Who Fell to Earth. That's kind of what he looks like.
Oh, nice.
He very much looks like David Bowie. Of course, he's not. Spoiler alert. We're going to spoil things here on the first two episodes. He's not long for the series, to be honest.
Yeah.
he's going to.
They kind of spoiled that in the trailer.
He's a plot device, is what he ultimately is, because Galadriel and she grows up. I don't know how many years go by, but she grows up and becomes the character that we're seeing in the show normally. But in any case, he dies. They have a war comes to Valinor, and the great tree in Valinor is destroyed. It's a beautiful scene, like with this tree being destroyed. But Morgoth, is that? Yeah, they're going to war with Morgoth, who Sauron works
kind
for.
of the predecessor.
Yeah. Sauron works. He's like the sorcerer for Morgoth. So her brother dies, and she goes on a quest to hunt down Sauron, because Sauron kills him, and he puts his mark on him, so she knows Sauron was the killer, and she goes on a quest to go after Sauron. So I'll kind of stop right there and kind of. What were your thoughts on kind of that whole opening? I mean, it's I didn't even get into like the large battle scene that we get as well.
It was very reminiscent of the intro to Lord of the Rings.
Lots of narration.
Yes, lots of narration. You get the battle scene. You get a lot of, even in Lord of the Rings, you got like they're trekking through this treacherous terrain, trying to get to that.
Yep. You're kind of you're just ahead of where I was in the snow scenes. Yeah.
So, I mean that was all the intro to this was pretty much like Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring.
Yeah, no, it definitely was.
In 2 minutes.
Yeah.
So
we also get that battle scene, which I thought was really cool. I mean, it's like reminds you of Helm's Deep a little bit. It's elves, and it's very enclosed.
Yeah,
Close
contact.
Looks great.
Yeah,
it looks fantastic. I mean, we're what
the whole
20 years past the original. I guess it's not quite 20 years. Next year will be 20 years from Fellowship. So we're 18 years past Helm's Deep. Because it's amazing. Like the elves, and like you see this big part where she's on the battlefield, like picks up a helmet and throws it in, and like they didn't know the word death.
Yeah.
Until now, we have many words for death. That was a cool line, I thought.
Stack of helmets.
Yeah, pretty cool. Massive stack of elf helmets.
Yeah.
So the scene you were going to is kind of the next scene where we see Galadriel and a group of, I guess it was like 5 or 6 additional elves.
Sorry,
that's fine.
Yeah.
5 or 6 additional elves climbing a mountain. They're climbing an icy wall, and I was just thinking, man, there's guys that actually do this in real life too. But they're climbing an icy wall with picks and things, no safety ropes, obviously. To get to the top, they're hunting Sauron, because Sauron has killed Galadriel's brother, and she's still on the hunt for them. And you get the feeling that no other elves believe that she should be doing this. Even the ones in her crew are showing some cracks in their beliefs with her. So they get to the top, and she's looking at a map, and the only other elf that has anything to say says, we should turn around and go home. We're never going to find it. And she's like, no, we're going ahead, which they do. They ultimately go ahead. And they're hiking through snow, and they get to a point where one of the elves falls down, and they're like, Galadriel, stop, and she turns around, and she's helping this elf, and they're like, we'll never find it. And all of a sudden lightning starts crashing, and she's like, oh, we're already here. They had just gotten on it. They just couldn't see it until the lightning started coming in. So they've gotten to where they were looking for on this map. You saw it on the map, and it's like just these spiky towers. So that's the part you were talking about. And then they enter the castle and start looking around, and she finds the signs of Sauron being there, and the other elf, only other one who really talks, is like, this could have been a long time ago that he was here. And then there's a really cool fight with a troll.
Yeah, they were the crew that she was with didn't have their full, they didn't believe in her, like the leader that she was supposed to be. They were all there because they had to be there.
Right.
You had that feeling. So
most definitely.
And obviously, you saw that in the first act. But yeah, I go back to that first act felt like, Fellowship of the Ring.
Yeah.
A large part of that movie. Even when they they got to fighting against that cave troll in Lord of the Rings. That's where they got with that first 5-10 minutes of the show.
Yeah,
that's kind of where they went,
fighting a snow troll.
Yeah, snow troll.
Snow troll, so much smaller than the cave troll that they fought.
They covered a lot of ground in that short period of time, but the rest of the show, they took their time. Yeah,
it was a really cool scene fighting the troll too. Yeah. Galadriel's really awesome in that scene, and it was a really good scene. And so after that scene, the other guys in her group, she's like, "Oh, we're not going home. We're heading north." And the other men in her group are like, "No, we're going home." And they start laying down their swords, which is symbolic, I guess, to say that they're leaving, whether she goes or not. That's where that scene cuts off. And the next scene, we open up in a new area. I don't know what that sound was, but cool. So we open up in an elven, I can't remember, Linden. Was it Linden? Lindor? Truffles?
Yes, Lindor truffles.
It was like Linden or something like that.
Yeah, something like
So we end up there, and we're introduced to somebody we know very much, Elrond. We're introduced to Elrond. Elrond's there, and he's told that, hey, thanks for following. Welcome to the chat. Thanks for tuning in. So Elrond is there. What is it? Chilling in Canada. Awesome. Thanks for following. So yeah, Elrond is there, and he's being told he's not going to be welcome to the council. So we're getting hints that Elrond isn't quite the position he was, and he's clearly not Hugo Weaving. So
he looks like Orlando Bloom's little brother.
Yeah,
more than anything.
Yeah. It was.
So I kept bringing that up to you. I was like, "Is that Orlando Bloom's?"
Yeah, and it's weird when you have this kind of thing that's set in the past and you're recasting actors because we're so used to seeing Hugo Weaving as Elrond, and that his presence throughout the original films, and even in the flashback that we get at the first of of Fellowship is Hugo Weaving. So this guy's got some changing to do clearly before that battle with Isildur. Yeah. So
he's got to get a whole lot uglier.
Poor Hugo Weaving.
Yeah, poor Hugo.
He's
great actor though.
He's still alive. We didn't kill him yet.
Yeah, not yet.
Bill Duke's also still alive. This is an inside joke from some of our other reviews.
Yeah, check back on.
We tried to kill a
few other ones.
Not really, but someday it'll be true.
Yeah. Cinematically, we try to kill somebody.
So Elrond's told that his friend is there, and he's like, "Why didn't you tell me?" And it's of course Galadriel has come back. She did return ultimately, and Elrond goes to speak to her, and they talk about the war and that the High Elf leader is going to declare the war over and is going to grant Galadriel and her men who have worked so hard the ability to go into Valinor, back to Valinor, into their elf heaven, basically Valhalla for elves
to the west.
To the west. So Galadriel said she's not going. Elrond ultimately does talk her into it. We get that on the next scene, and they have a few more scenes where Galadriel is telling Elrond that she doesn't believe it's over and that kind of stuff, but she is ultimately talked into it and does get on the ship, and we get the scene of the. I guess we can stop there and talk about. Was there anything you wanted to say about these scenes? Beautiful CGI work in these scenes.
Yeah, no, I mean, at this point, you're kind of more concentrated on like Galadriel. I think she did the actress that is portraying her as a young
I don't have any names
Galadriel
right now.
Yeah, I'm terrible with actresses and actors' names.
I don't even know these actors or actresses.
She has done a great job so far.
Yep. She's not all that far off from Kate Blanchett.
I mean,
the look is right.
There's little pieces that she's done in her performance that it's like, okay, can see that from the old 20 years ago. But I mean, up until now, it's just kind of like, just trying to take everything in right now. It's a little world building, still just sitting there watching.
Yeah.
Taking it in.
Yeah, it is world building of a world we already know, but it's a long time before that world we really know. And it's still, it's still weird because the elves, they're immortal, they live forever. So, lots of these elves are people we've seen before. Maybe I don't recognize all of them, but obviously Elrond and Galadriel are around, like I said, in the trilogy. But yeah, so that scene ends, and the next scene, does the next scene go right to the boat? I can't remember. Or do we go to like the Harfoots?
So she's going. They're going out to the west. She decides.
Yeah. So they're on the boat, just out. Like at the end of Return of the King. They're on the boats.
Yeah.
And she decides at the last minute that she cannot go. That she believes something's wrong. She jumps off the ship into the water. I guess she's gonna swim. Her rest of her crew. The only other elf that got to talk with her. Tries to stop her and bring her in, but she leaves, jumps into the water, just is going to swim miles and miles, I guess, to try to survive. from there we jump to the Harfoots, I believe.
Yeah.
And we're introduced. There's these two guys, these hunters out there in the field, and they're walking through, and they're wolf hunters, I believe, and they have these big caribou horns on their back. It's really kind of cool, but they're kind of rough and tumble looking guys. And we see something moving behind them, and they're just like, oh, must have been a wind, right?
Yeah, must have been a wind.
So they ignore it and keep going, and then we see our first Hobbit-looking characters. They're not hobbits; they're ancestors of hobbits. They call themselves Harfoots. They're a nomadic tribe of hobbits, essentially. I'm just going to call them hobbits because it's just easier. Harfoot sounds weird. And you get Brandyfoot. Nori Brandyfoot is going to be our main Harfoot. It looks like there's other Harfoots. There's her father. There's like their medicine man, I guess. The black fella who's playing like he looks at the book and he has the picture of the hunter in it and the wolves and things like that. And so Nori is kind of made out to be somewhat of a troublemaker, it seems, in the tribe, and she's out with some other children breaking into an old farm. It looks like a farm that's no longer operating, but the blackberries are still growing there, from what I understand. So she's out gathering blackberries, but she's not really supposed to take the kids there. So she sees a wolf, which is kind of surprising to her at this time of the year, because usually they wouldn't see wolves at this time. And then, of course, the hunters are out there looking for wolves as well. So she returns back to the Harfoot encampment, which they kind of are hiding when these hunters come through, and then they just pop their whole encampment up. So she's back, and you're introduced to some of the other Harfoots. I can't keep all.
It's like a Hobbiton hideout.
Yeah, I think Brandy was the other. Her friend was named Brandy, I think. Brandy, I don't know. They all have those Hobbit names, you're like she's
Brandywine.
She's Brandyfoot or whatever,
Brandywines,
Pippin, and then Mary was Brandy Buck, I think. So it's those kind of like Hobbit
they're down
names.
The line, right?
Yeah, so they clearly are hobbits, but they're not settled. They're a nomadic tribe of hobbits, and really, I don't think much else goes on in that scene. It kind of just
ancestors
moves.
of Gollum too.
That's true. Yeah, the river folk, like you were saying, because you were like, some of them had to settle someplace, and then there's a Shire settlement as well later on. So that's
it's, like I said, it's all world building on top of the world.
It's a lot. A lot of this is world building. There's more, like Galadriel's storyline is more moving forward in this, while like the Harfoot storyline is just kind of introductions at this point.
Yeah.
Because Galadriel, we didn't need to be introduced to any of her other elves that she was with, because they're
or Elrond.
Yeah, Elrond.
We know them.
We know them. You don't need to introduce them.
Everything else is kind of world building, but those two, they build relationships along the way, and we're seeing that a little bit.
Yeah. So let's see, what happens after the Harfoots is what I'm trying to remember. My memory's kind of failing me, because we don't ultimately go back to Galadriel in this episode at this point, right?
The elf.
Oh, we go to Elrond, don't we?
Yeah, the elf that is basically the elf that's on the wall that's watching out for forces that they don't want to see coming forth.
See, I'm getting like the two episodes are kind of melding right now.
Yeah.
Because
that's why they showed two, I think. Because it's like
those two are melding.
They just that should be one episode.
Yeah.
Those two.
Yeah, they could have been one.
It could have been one.
So I'm just going to skip to what I remember, honestly. And
that's not good when we talk about a TV show when both episodes just kind of mesh together.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
because we watched them back to back. It's a 2-hour movie that really didn't move.
Yeah, there's not a lot of movement of the story. There's little things, but one thing, now that you're saying that, one thing I do kind of pick up on is like, we don't get our big bad at all in these two episodes, other than in flashback. We only see Sauron in flashback. I mean, we have other characters that end up coming into play that we don't know who they are.
Right.
Like, is the end of the episode where we get the comet coming in, or was it the start of the second? I think it was the end of the first. The start of the second, or end of the first.
End of the first.
Yeah.
Start the second. You got the being that came
asteroid,
in
comet
on the
coming
comet.
in.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the very end of the first episode with the Harfoot Nori finding where it landed, because it lands near their little encampment.
And they were curious. And
of course Nori's curious. She's that kind of troublemaker. Basically, she's.
You got the one hero elf. I forget his name. He's got his own little family out there in the outskirts.
Yeah,
he's the warrior.
Athromir or something like that.
He's the one that he's going down.
We should have pulled up the cast listing on the TV here so we could figure it out.
Sorry, we're terrible at this right now.
Yes, we're so bad at this. So
Aragorn.
In any case, we're introduced.
Was
I think we're introduced to him in the second episode. I don't think he comes in at all in the first episode that I remember. But like I said, they're melding together. So it's like Arathir or something like that. I had trouble making out some of the names because, well, they're English accents for the most part. And sometimes I like, we didn't watch it with subtitles. Usually I can do it with subtitles. I get the names better. But so that storyline we can kind of go to that. So there is like an asteroid that comes in, and a bunch of people see it. A bunch of our storyline sees this asteroid coming in, and it crashes near the Harfoots. Nori goes to where it crashes and discovers a man laying in the center of it, and that's absolutely where the first episode ended. Yeah. And then the next episode picks up right back there where she goes down, and he's clearly a magical type being, because when she touches him, he makes things float, and he doesn't speak English, it doesn't seem like, and she says she's going to help him, and her friend, whose name I think is Brandy, but I could be wrong, doesn't want to do it, but she's like, "Oh, you're going to do it anyway."
Brandy of the brandy wines.
Brandy wine. Brandy.
Yes,
that's right. So they help this stranger and take him and put him in like this little shelter they make for him, and Nori's going to help him, and she. So that's kind of where that part ends, and. Yeah, the actor playing this guy who crashed to Earth is very familiar looking. Yeah. I cannot place him, and again, we didn't pull up the cast list or anything. I should have, but I did not. In any case, you can look up the cast list, and if you've watched it, you probably recognize the guy as well. He's just very, very familiar to me.
It's a hot take.
Yeah, so hot take. Yeah, we're instant take. We don't do any preparation. Well, I do a little preparation, but I don't do much. We just watch it, and we do this. Yeah. So we also get the elf, the black elf guy who's stationed in the Southlands, which is where men live at this time. He's stationed there because they have stations throughout the area to make sure there's no re-attacks of orcs and things like that.
Right.
And
the elves are out and about.
Yeah.
It's kind of nice to see them.
Yeah.
In this world.
And the humans don't particularly like them all that much, especially most of them seem to be tolerant of them, but like he goes into a bar and is checking with the bartender to get all the news if there's any problems, and he hears them talking about poison when he goes in, but the bartender's like, no, it's not what I was talking about, it's poison grass,
Yeah, don't worry about it.
And then one kid in the bar kind of hassles him and gets pissed off at him, and the elf actually helps the kid because the bartender was about to punch the kid and he stops the punch. So he leaves there, and you get this woman had left the bar right when he goes in, and he walks out and goes by the well where she is, and you can tell that they're in some kind of relationship. What kind of relationship, we don't exactly know. And then he leaves, and the other elf that's with him is like, oh, well, how's the well? Like clearly the other elf that's doing this knows he's doing something. Yeah. And it's kind of frowned upon, of course, because they're immortal beings and the humans are. And, we got this in Lord of the Rings with Aragorn and what's her name?
Philandriel?
No,
not Philandriel. Oh, jeez.
Arwen. Yeah, Arwen. There it is. Philandriel. I knew it would come. Yeah.
Sorry.
Isn't Philandriel a man?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I don't know.
Rings of power.
Philanderer. No. So yeah, he's got a relationship with this woman, and the other elf knows it, but he's like, it doesn't ever work out, and we see that carrying on, 3,000-4,000 years later with Arwen and Aragorn. Yeah. So yeah, I like this scene because it kind of shows that the humans and elves just don't really get along, but they're tolerating each other, I guess, and that the elves are still trying to help everybody, despite the fact that humans don't particularly like them and are still worried about things. So that scene, after that scene, they go back to their tower where they're stationed, and they get a letter that says that the king elf, whatever his name is, I can't remember, has called everybody home to Linden or whatever it is.
Yeah. Lindor. Chocolates.
Lindor Chocolate Truffle Land. Didn't know the elves made those.
We're just going to make up our own.
Elves live in trees and make chocolate cookies and things, we didn't see any of the Keebler family of elves this time. So, but yeah, so they're calling back. So that obviously just makes this guy a little sad, and he leaves off to go visit this woman. And we're introduced to this woman in her home with a kid that looks vaguely like the elf.
The elf, yeah.
I mean, we're not told outright, but she's not a white woman. I think she's like Slavic or something like that. I don't know. She's got darker skin. But she's white overall, Yeah. And then the kid has pretty dark skin and a really bad haircut that covers his ears. So we never see his ears. We just don't see them.
Yeah.
But he thinks his father has left them or whatever. But I think it's pretty clear we're setting up that the elf is the father of this child. The elf had also been stationed there for 79 years, he had said at one point. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that kind of finishes off this little part of the scene. Oh, no, it doesn't, because while he's there, a man comes up, because the woman is like a chemist type, a pharmacist type. She makes medicines and things. A man comes up with a sick cow, and she's checking out, and the elf walks around and checks the cow and squirts this blackness out of its udders. It's so gross. It's like, chocolate milk. Okay. Mm-hmm. So he asked him where the cow went, and the guy said the cow had wandered off east and came back sick like this.
Yeah.
So that's where that ends. This elf knows something's going on. He's got to go investigate this. Mm-hmm. And also, it kind of cuts back to Galadriel at this point. It may have done it. Yeah. These scenes may have been switched, but Galadriel's swimming still, and she comes upon a group of people on a raft from a crashed ship. And these people are none too happy to see her. She's another person on this, and they don't have a lot of water, and they don't particularly want to help her. So she goes to the ship. This one guy kind of does something weird, like, oh, you're not welcome here or whatever, and she doesn't come up. It's weird, like she has to listen to him. It's like a vampire or something, like you can't come to her invited, you know?
Yeah, it's kind of, it's kind of weird.
Yeah, it was weird, because it seemed like he did something magical, but he didn't. I think he just said she can't come on, and that must be something like she had to honor that or something. I know, it's weird. But they do finally let her on, and they're kind of starting to get mean to her, and they discover she's an elf, and then they're even meaner to her, and then they see a ship in the distance, and it ends up being their ship sitting on the back of this large.
Yeah, they recognize the sails.
The Vam.
Yes.
They call it the worm.
They call it the
worm. It seems like it's like some kind of large fish or something, and it attacks them again. The one guy that's the younger guy, he's the only one who survives. He delashes his part of the raft away from everything else, and the fish takes it down. Galadriel gets thrown into the water, and he ultimately picks her back up.
Yeah.
And they go on their way. In the meantime, we flash back to the elf at the town with the woman. They're going to investigate the east, and they come upon a town that she knows that has been burnt, and there's holes in the ground. Obviously, we're looking at orcs attacking this town is what we're looking at.
Right.
And in the meantime, the son, while they're going to do that, is in a barn and going under some floorboards and discovers a sword with Sauron's insignia on it that's broken, and takes it. And that's going to come into play later at the very end of the episode, actually.
Right.
Yeah, so, okay, we can stop there because I've been talking for a long time about what happens.
No, you're good.
I just keep going, but,
the
scenes are good. The scenes are good.
Summed it up, yeah.
This episode's really slow, though. Don't think there's much action going on in the second episode.
Yeah.
It's good. It's good world building, but it is slow, and it was like 10:45, and I was just like, oh, come on, man, this has got to move.
Even like the last scene, like, if I didn't know anything about Lord of the Rings and I saw that last scene, I'd be like, what does that mean?
Right. Yeah.
I don't know. If it's on, I might watch it.
He's got a cut, and like the sword in his hand, the blood starts going towards the sword, and it starts growing back to life.
Galadriel, they come up to that ship, and somebody's on the ship, and it ends.
Yeah.
And it's understand, but if I don't know anything about Lord of the Rings or anything about it,
I think
I might just look at it like,
I think you can watch the series.
I'll come around to it again. But I mean, being Lord of the Rings fans, we're gonna come back and watch it all the time.
Of course.
But people that aren't privy to it are just
Lord of the Rings, the second best trilogy of all time.
Yeah. No.
There's only one return, and it's of the Jedi.
Tis.
In any case, there's also another scene on the raft that we didn't talk about where a large storm hits them, and a beautiful scene in the water because Galadriel is trying to tie down some stuff and gets knocked overboard and falls in the water and is being pulled down by some wood that's sinking to the bottom, and the man on the ship whose name either we never got or I don't remember yet again.
Peter
Jackson, that's his name. Yes. Jumps in the water.
You can't remember anybody's name. It's Peter Jackson.
Yeah. OPJ.
OPJ.
Or Petra Jackson.
Petra.
That's the women folk on there.
All right.
So he jumps in the water, saves her by he goes. I mean, they're going way down. This is crazy how far they go down. It looks like they're 400 feet underwater, which would have killed them both. But
their brains are mush at this point. Yeah.
So he goes down to save her, and he can't get the rope off of her, and then he sees her dagger that her brother had that she took from her brother. That's like her sacred dagger that she's going to kill Sauron with or something.
Dagger.
And he cuts her loose and brings her back up, and that's where we get the last scene where there's somebody on a boat that's discovered them. The sun's behind them. You can't see their face. I assume it's Blackbeard, Taika Waititi, right?
Yeah.
Oh, are you okay down there?
Jumps down. Oh, good job.
Oh, very good. Yes. So they're saved. Supposedly, we don't really know who that is. It could be pirates. We don't really know who that is. And in the meantime, we do have another storyline back at the farmstead where the elf is helping the woman he loves. The son is still at their home, and she's going back. She goes back from where they discovered the burnt down village to tell everybody in the bar, and then she goes back to her house and discovers that the house is kind of being messed up. We also get a scene with the son where he starts bashing in the floor, and when he does, something looks at him.
He
sees an eye.
See an eye come through, which was pretty cool.
Yeah. So she gets back to the house. I don't know where the elf is at this time. I guess he's gone back to tell the other elves that there's something going on.
He was down.
Oh, that's right. He is. That's right.
He's under.
Get the tunnels.
He's
in the tunnels.
Yeah,
trying to track what's going on.
Those are some pretty intense scenes
where he's climbing through that really narrow space. I was like, oh,
those are probably some of the best scenes with him in there. Yeah.
I was like, this is like The Descent, man. I can't handle this stuff.
See him in such something a tight... over here and here. He's like, whoa, where do I go?
And then, he starts getting chased by something and gets through this tight area into some water where he doesn't have his light anymore. It's very, very claustrophobic. And then we're at the farmhouse where the woman comes back, the mother comes back, and discovers it kind of tore to pieces. And there is something in there. It's wearing a mask. Has big claw hands. We think it's an orc, probably.
I thought it was the predator from Prey.
Yeah, it looks like the predator from Prey. So she starts fighting. Like, she goes and the son's hiding. He's fine. He's hiding. And he's like, oh, shh. And she hides in a cabinet. And the orc comes in, and ultimately she makes a noise. The orc finds her, and she has to fight it. The son comes up and stabs it in the back. She gets a sword and like stabs it in the back again. It's hung on this thing, and the son puts a rope around his neck, hangs it, and then that breaks. And at that point, they kind of get it down, and she chops its head off and takes it to the bar and throws it on the bar and says, what do you think now? This is what happened. It's orcs. And that was it for that. But this all sounds far more exciting than this episode really was. When I'm talking about it, it sounds a lot more exciting. I think ultimately it's a decent episode, but it's a little slow compared to the first. The first, even the first wasn't that action packed. It just felt like it moved at a faster pace than this second episode.
Maybe because we were more excited for it.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
So that's all I have to say about the episodes. I'm sure I missed some stuff in there.
Yeah.
We totally missed the whole dwarves area. I forgot. Elrond is assigned by the head elf to help with...
that was all like...
the smith, the famous elven smith who needs to make something. So the elven smith tells Elrond he needs a certain kind of forge to make what he's going to make, the assumption is he's going to make the rings, right? I mean, I think he's that one. I think he's that one. And so Elrond says, well, can we bring in other outside people? And he's like, well, what kind of outside people? And so they go to
that's going to happen.
Yeah, they go to the dwarves because Elrond says he's friends with Prince Durin, the dwarf. And they go to the mountain and they knock on the door and they won't let him in. And so he calls down some challenge or something. So they let him in and Durin shows up and Durin's not friendly to him at all. And he has to do this challenge. They got to break rocks until one of them can't break rocks anymore. Elrond ultimately loses this challenge and asks Durin to walk him out because he's going to be banned from Dwarven lands forever for losing this challenge. And he starts talking to Durin and learns why Durin's so mad at him because it's been 20 years since he's seen him. And he's like, that's a blink of an eye to an elf, but for me, it's a lifetime. Yeah. I've gotten married. You didn't come to my wedding. I've had children.
You didn't see my kids. You didn't see my wedding.
And so Elrond realizes that he's kind of been a bad friend to this guy. And they were great friends, apparently. Is what
Orlando Bloom Jr.
Yeah, so he's like, I apologize, and I would like to apologize to your wife. So Durin's kind of softening to him, takes him home, and these are funnier scenes in it.
Yeah.
And he's like, you come in and then you leave after you say apologies to my wife and children, and you do not, under any circumstances, stay for dinner. The wife comes down and it's like, oh, Elrond, it's so great to meet you. Stay for dinner.
Stay for dinner. Right away.
Yeah, he stays for dinner.
And that goes back to the, hate to keep bringing up Lord of the Rings. But I mean, this is a prequel.
Yep. But and this is also the first time we see a Dwarven city, alive.
Between Legolas and Gimli. Those two had that
great
friendly banter back and forth.
Oh, yeah. And this is similar.
So this goes back to that.
This is very similar to that.
Yeah. It totally counts as one, that kind of thing.
Yeah. But Durin pretends the whole time like he's not going to forgive him. He's forgiven him already. You can tell it from his reactions. And his wife's not going to
You can tell they're friends from the get-go.
Yeah, his wife's not going to let him be angry at him. And ultimately, he does forgive him. And Durin says he'll listen to his request. And the request is obviously Durin's father needs to grant the request. The request is obviously to use Dwarven forges to do this. But we don't get that. And we do see Durin talking to his father. And something is a little off there. I don't know what it is. It's not clear what the king of the dwarves is up to here. But Durin is obviously with his father on this one. We don't know what they're doing, though.
That's one of the last scenes.
Yeah, that is one of the last scenes. You get those kind of final scenes all in a row there.
There's things to come. There's a lot that comes into play.
For sure.
So, good to keep watching.
Yeah,
I'm pretty excited about it.
It's good.
Am I, super stoked about it? Gonna push everything to the side to watch this? Probably.
I mean, I plan on coming over here on Thursdays and doing this podcast with you every Thursday, so be prepared.
I quit Golf League for this.
You
so
did.
Guys,
that's why.
Chime in, please.
Yeah. Talk to us. Chilling in Canada, if you're still here.
I'm better at talking on a mic than I am at golf, so maybe that's why I should have quit golf.
He's liar. He's better at golf than me. Not at talking on the mic. You're great at talking on the mic.
Oh, Lord, I'm terrible.
So, I mean, this has been a short podcast because it's late and I got to go home because I got to work tomorrow. And I think we'll be better next week when it's just one episode. I certainly think I thank anyone for joining us. Chilling in Canada, thanks for the follow. That's Rings of Power. Really good. It's a nice return to Middle Earth. And I think we got a lot more areas to explore in Middle Earth. So thanks for tuning in. You can catch the podcast on Anchor. We also are available on pretty much anywhere you want to listen to your podcast. If you want to listen to the podcast version of this, if you're joining us for the first time, we also have a House of the Dragon podcast we do on Sundays at about 9-ish after we watch the episode. So you can join us on Twitch for that as well. If you followed, obviously you'll get the indication on that one. But we're happy to have you here. This has been the Basement Movie Room podcast, and we will see you next time.
Cheers.